So, good morning. Welcome to our Bid Ready series. In partnership with ESD's Go Semi and the Division of Minority and Women's Business Development Offices, we aim to provide resources to get firms contract ready. So today we have Gilbane Turner on to discuss their life sciences lab up in Albany. So our agenda, following our welcome, we will have a brief overview of the Bid Ready series and ESD resources. Today, we will have a presentation from the Gilbane Turner joint venture on the Life Sciences Public Health Lab project in Albany. After, we will review questions for our guests gathered upon registration and here via our Q&A feature. After Q&A, ESD will share upcoming events, resources, and we will close. So just a note that our chat feature is off today since it's a webinar, but if you're having issues or have any questions, please message the moderator or ESD facilitator. Also note that no AI tools will be permitted today and they will be removed by us. By entering the room today, you are agreeing to be recorded and you agree to be courteous to all individuals in the room. As a reminder, please be sure to change your display name to your first and last name, especially if you are entering using a phone. Please note the views presented in today's webinar are those of the speaker and do not necessarily represent the views of ESD or the New York State government. So the Bid Ready series is aimed at supporting small businesses, MWBEs, and SDVOBs become bid ready as New York State enters a massive era of development. There are many requirements needed to be successful on a large-scale project. Bid Ready bridges the resource gap. Join us as we provide resources to demystify what can be a complex process, facilitate conversations with experienced prime contractors, and answer your questions. Joining today are representatives from the ESD's Division of Minority and Women's Business Development team. They are here to help you navigate these challenges. Please feel free to reach out to them individually after our event today. So before we pass along to Gilbane Turner, ESD just wanted to share some resources. ESD has many resources to help you and your business become prepared to work on larger contracts. We are here to support you. The links to all of these resources are on the bottom of our Bid Ready webpage, and I will share this to everyone in the chat right now for you to run through. But just a little bit about these resources. So the Capital Access Program. The State Small Business Credit Initiative is expanding the New York State Capital Access Program with $6.4 million to provide matching funds to financial institutions for loan loss reserves as an incentive to increase small business lending. Bid Ready also has an introductory video on capital access called Path to Success, available on our YouTube via our webpage, which was just placed in the chat. Entrepreneurship Assistance Centers, or EACs, is an enterprise development program with centers located in communities throughout New York State that provide instruction, training, technical assistance, and support services to individuals who are interested in or recently started their own business, or entrepreneurs seeking to expand or strengthen their early stage business. New York State Small Business Development Centers provide no-cost, confidential, one-on-one business advisement, training, and research to small business owners and entrepreneurs throughout New York State. New York State Manufacturing Extension Partnerships is a network of organizations that provide growth and innovation services to small and mid-sized manufacturers in every corner of the state to help them create and retain jobs, increase profits, and save time and money. The Governor's Office of Semiconductor Expansion, Management and Integration, or GoSemi, is part of the Bid Ready initiative. There is a lot of development happening in Central New York, and there are many projects underway and upcoming. Stay tuned to the Bid Ready series for more information and events down the line. And just a few announcements. As always, keep an eye on the Bid Ready webpage for news on upcoming webinars like this. Also, ESD's Division of Minority and Women's Business Development is hosting a series of in-person pop-up events across the state. The next one is on Monday. It's going to be in the Bronx, and registration is required. So head to our website, and you can find registration for that. And also, MWB, the ESC, excuse me, is hosting an MWBE Expo at the Javits Center on July 23rd. Keep an eye on our website for more information. Okay, so I'm going to stop sharing and I'm going to pass to Rodney, who is today's facilitator, to introduce himself and also today's prime.
Good morning and welcome, everybody. My name is Rodney Smith. I'm the director for the Semiconductor Growth Access Program, known as SGAP. I have the pleasure to introduce Stephen Coates from the Gilbane Turner joint venture, and he will discuss, opportunities and how to be a successful bid partner with their firm. Steve, I turn it over to you.
Thank you, Rodney, and good morning, everyone. My name's Steve Coates. I am the construction executive for Gilbane Turner at the New York State Public Health Life Sciences Lab here in Albany, New York, a rendering of which you can see in my background. Next slide. Our agenda of our presentation today, a quick overview of the project, and then I will hand it off to my colleague, Dan Lasher, who will take you through our procurement process. We're going to focus heavily on this process with you today because it takes a lot of resources to engage, and we want to encourage small minority women and service disabled veteran organizations to have opportunities here with us at the lab. The New York State Department of Health, in conjunction with the Dormitory Authority of the State of New York as the developer, has undertaken a project to consolidate 5 labs, public health labs, in the Capital District into one updated and consolidated facility at the Harriman Office Campus in Albany, New York. They will be combining the Division of Environmental Sciences, Genetics, Infectious Disease, and Lab Quality certifications. This consolidation will help improve the Department of Health in response during public health crisis, such as the COVID pandemic that we all went through 6 years ago. It is, as you can see from the rendering, it is a beautifully designed building from our design partner, HOK, out of New York City. It's a rather large building of 655,000 square feet. Our base floor plate is 5 acres. It's quite impressive to stand in the middle of it and see just how large this building is. It is with 5 floors, 4 occupied, and a mechanical penthouse. It is shallow foundations, steel frame. As I say, a very beautiful aluminum and glass facade. And really, because of the science that's done here, there is a very high concentration of mechanical and electrical systems to support the laboratory operations, filter the air, and keep both the lab workers and folks outside of the lab safe from the contagions that they deal with in this laboratory. Next slide. Our schedule, and we are happy to report we are currently on schedule. We broke ground a little over a year ago. We did get our foundations started in December of 2025 and have completed the foundation work. We did start steel in March of this year, and we are 30 to 40% complete currently. We will start our facade later this year and then start with our interior framing, fit out, and running our core and shell mechanical electrical systems in January. We expect our building to be weather tight by mid 2027. We have a substantial completion date of October of 2029, so we'll be starting our systems up earlier in 29. And then our final completion turnover to the client will be 2030, ready for DOH occupancy. Next slide, please. There have been some questions leading up to this presentation on our project labor agreement, so let me spend a couple of minutes on this. So we do have a project labor agreement with the Greater Capital Region Building and Construction Trade Councils. Under that agreement, the joint venture will hire union contractors to complete the work. However, there are provisions for the use of MW and SDVOB contractors who are not signatory to a collective bargaining agreement. And those provisions are listed below. Contract values of less than 5 million for prime or 3 million for second and third tier subcontractors. We do consult with the Trade Council on a case-by-case basis, and no more than 50% of any particular trade classification can be assigned to non-signatory organizations. I just want to let everyone know that we do have, under these provisions, we do have non-union MW and SDVOB contractors currently working on the job, working toward our goal of providing at least 36% of the project to MW and SDVOB contractors. Next slide, please. I'm going to turn it over to my colleague Dan Lasher to walk through our procurement process. Dan?
Thanks, Steve. Name's Dan Lasher, work for Gilbane Turner. I see a lot of familiar names, so I'm very happy that our paths have crossed again. Got a lot of material to cover, so I will go through these slides fast. Want to leave time for questions and answers at the end, but wanted to start out with the procurement process. So our client being DASNY and DOH, it's not a typical public rip and read process. So we did want to go through how this kind of difference through the maybe a lump sum process that your firms are familiar with. And it really starts with kind of the vendor interest form, which is a means from our website, which we will go to in a little bit, to indicate interest in bidding as a prime, bidding as a sub-tier, or even forming a joint venture. So the ask would be that all firms that are interested in participating in this job on any tier to go to our website, indicate interest. There's also an opportunity to ask any questions to individuals on the project team, just to get information out in a fluid process and for transparency's sake. So we'll get into the website a little bit later, but the first step would be to fill out the vendor interest form. The next is the Gilbane Turner and our partner, our compliance consultant, McKissick, begin outreach. If anyone's not familiar with that, it's advertising on various forms of publication. It's reviewing prime NACES codes and making sure that we conduct the appropriate outreach so that our community and our MWSW firms are aware that these bid packages are going out to bid. After the appropriate time for the outreach and the completion of the vendor interest form, the Gilbane Turner team reviews the individual firms that have filled out the vendor interest form. We compile a list of individuals that represented interest as a sub-tier, represented interest as a JV, and we supply that information to the prime bidders. Anybody that indicated interest as a prime, the vendor interest form is a form of a light pre-qual. Anybody that is qualified to bid as a prime goes to the bidders list, which then goes to our client. Anybody that we question if this job is a good fit for them, we reach out, inform them that there are an area of concern, and we talk through it with that firm. So next is compiling the bidders list. Then a further pre-qualification, making sure that this job, making sure that that bid package is going to be a good fit for all firms participating. And then we submit the request for proposal. There is at least a 15-day duration for bids to be submitted. We receive the bids, we level them, proposal review, and ultimately award. If your firm was not successful as bidding as a prime, then what we do is we call and kind of explain why, walk through it, and make sure that your firm has a opportunity to be successful on the next bid. The leveling process is a lengthy process. It's not a rip and read, and you find out right there in the auditorium that your firm was awarded. There's leveling that occurs. There's working through assumptions and clarifications. There's further conversations about not just dollars, but many other factors that go into the recommendation for award. Not being a rip and read, this project is a best value. So many, many, many items that go into the consideration for award than just dollars and being qualified. The intent and this process is not just specific to this job. Gilbane Turner on some of our other JVs has followed this process, has proven to be successful in casting a wide net into optimizing the knowledge of the project in our community and being able to get local, statewide organizations aware, have the opportunity to ask questions and to be part of this project on many different tiers. Judy, next slide, please. So our website, I'll stay here for one quick second. The URL is on the kind of the 3 lines down, left-hand side, lifesciencespublichealthlab.org. If you have your phone ready, the QR code will take you there as well too. I'm going to steal the screen and kind of walk through our intent of the website. Just confirming everyone's looking at the website right now.
No.
All right, there we are. So that www will take you to this website. There are 4 main tabs. I'm not going to go through events and sessions or resources. Events and sessions are the announcing similar series as this or other Meet the Primes Blueprint for Success events. And resources are some of the resources that Danielle has shared and other platforms as well to organizations to hear about this job and to get involved on other projects as well too. So we're at the Home tab right now. A brief introduction of the project, a link to the vendor interest form, and some more information about the project. That being the main tab, to find out more about specific bid packages and indicating interest, the contracting opportunities would be my suggestion for you to spend the most time on. I'll go through the vendor interest form briefly, but as you can see, we took this massive project and broke it down into, don't quote me, but I'd say around 90 bid packages, each one of these being a specific request for proposal. We started procuring this job September 9th of 2024. We are in bid release 5 right now. As of the bid release 1 through 4 was about 50% of the project volume. Bid release 5 and 6 will get us to about 93%. Bid release 5 is out to bid right now. So the opportunity to bid as a prime has passed. The opportunity to bid as a sub-tier is still relative. If you are curious on the scope, some of these can be interpreted in different ways. On what that scope specific is, you can click on the bid release number 5 description, and there is a paragraph or a few sentences on the intent of scope to be procured through that bid package. Bid release 6 is going out to bid in the next few weeks. I would anticipate all bid packages being out July of this year. So if you are indicated in bidding any of these, I believe the bidders list have been submitted for the majority of them, but there is still opportunity to bid as a sub-tier. The vendor interest form is a tool not just used for procurement, it'll be a tool used throughout the construction phase as well too. I'll go through that quickly. It's indicating a little bit information just for contact purposes of your company, address, contact. And then the type of services you're interested in providing. First tier, second tier, professional services, equipment rentals. If you are certified as an MW-SDVOB with New York State. And then it lists the bid packages. So these are the bid packages you would indicate if you're interested in bidding as a prime. And then if you're interested in bidding as a sub-tier, question 13 and 14 are very important to fill out. So many companies can indicate interest in saying bidding or participating as a sub-tier to a, let's say, HVAC air. Your services could be drafting, could be cleaning, could be installing duct insulation. So the important step would be to A, select the interest in that specific bid package once you've read through the description and see that the services you provided are relative, and then providing a description of what services your company provides. Think of it as a brief capability statement. That way they're just not looking at a name of a company, but how your firm could fit into their overall proposal or the not just the proposal, but services ongoing. Next is joint ventures, and then what we call as light pre-qual, your volume, safety records, largest projects ever completed. These, if you're interested in being a sub-tier, these are used as light pre-qual for first tier prime bidders, not for sub-tiers. So if you indicated this information is not shared with the primes or first tiers, only the fact that you're interested in being a part of their team to fulfill the scope of work that they're proposing on. So the important reason to fill this out, even if a bid package was bid in September of 2024, is that even when somebody submits a proposal, their team, I would say, is not fully developed. They will have many aspects that they need to fulfill. We all know that Prime doesn't get awarded and the sub-agreements show up the next day. They continue to build their team and onboard their sub-tiers as their scope progresses. So if a firm is awarded, continue to indicate interest in providing as a sub-tier. We'll provide that list on a basis to those primes so that they can look at it and say, okay, I didn't reach out to so-and-so when I was submitting my proposal, but it seems that they indicate interest in being as a sub-tier. So now that I'm fulfilling the scope of that item with a tier, I'll reach out to company XYZ to see if they are a good fit for this. It's a great opportunity just to raise your hand and then have this networking information provided to that firm. If you indicated interest, you obviously already have a foot in the door when it comes to being part of this project. The other item I wanted to go through, vendor interest, very important. Just being able to communicate with the project team here. Instead of having an email address, emailing Steve and I, we've created this construction opportunity questions. So if you click here, what it does is we have contact information, and then specific if it falls into a category, helps us delineate who that should go to, and then a brief summary of your question. We want to leave the door open for anybody that has any questions on how they can be involved in this project or anything in general. We've got a big Gilbane team here. If you have one person's email address, that might not be the appropriate person to respond to your questions. So our ask is that the questions go through this site. It goes to an individual who then disseminates who the appropriate person is to answer that question. And then in a timely fashion, we can make sure that that answer gets to you so that questions and comments are addressed. So both of those items are on the contracting opportunities tab in our website. Those are the two items. We can address any questions regarding the website afterwards. Judy, if you don't mind stealing back, we'll go back to the slides. All right. So we'll stay here for just 1 second as well too. This is the construction opportunity questionnaire. That QR code will take you directly there. We can put the website address in the chat at the end of the slides here, but all that information will be there. Judy, next slide, please. So bid packages, we kind of touched upon that on the website. Bid release 1, 2, 3, and 4 are under contract right now. Bid release 5 on the right-hand side of the page has gone out to bid, and bid release 6 is in the process of going out to bid. GCGR packages are always ongoing. So if you do not see a bid package that your firm fits into, provide a little bit of information about your company, and then we can see that further down the line, just like our trade partners, do not have everybody under contract at a certain point in time. We'll continue to look for services as we progress as well too. One thing we do beyond sharing your information once you give consent to do so with the primes, we also follow up in a timely fashion to notify you that we've received your information and ask for a capability statement as well too. If you don't have a capability statement, we have a template that helps ask information of your firm and then provide that to the primes as well too. Purpose is just to make networking and transparency as fluid as possible on this project. Next slide, please. So this just kind of goes through the packages that are out to bid right now and who the procurement agents are. Just take a look at the descriptions of a lot of these. It's hard to understand what is being asked of a bid package by a few words, but that description provides further information. And if you have any other questions, of course, the construction questionnaire is a great means to ask and receive an answer. Next. Similar, these are bid packages that are out and bid release 6. Next. So for pre-qualification, want to make it as clear as glass that second tier and sub tiers do not need to pre-qualify with Gilbane Turner. I'm not saying don't. I'm just saying specifically for this project, it is not necessary. The light pre-qual through the vendor interest form is enough information in order to determine if this project is a good fit for your firm as a first tier. If you only indicated interest in being a first tier, you still have an opportunity to say, okay, I didn't make the first tier bidders list, but I want to be part of the project. So you have the ability to indicate interest as a second tier. For anybody interested in bidding as a first tier, you can go to either Gilbane's or Turner's website. The pre-qualification process is very similar. For this specific project, go to Turner's overall website and you can download information on how to pre-qualify through the platform called Vertical. Very similar information is asked with other general contractors, I'm sure, such as EMR, OSHA forms, your reportable incident rate, financial statements, and then just a little bit of information about your company. Purpose of qualifying is just to make sure that the bid package is appropriate for a company of your size. Not just financial statements are looked for, not just one item would disqualify you from bidding this bid package. Overall intent, just to summarize, is to make sure that if we're not familiar with your company, pre-qualifying makes us familiar with your company. And also, we want to make sure that if it is the first time we're working with you, it's not the last time. We want to make sure that we are able to build lasting relationships with our firms, that the first job we do together is a good fit for everybody so that we can continue to do work on subsequent projects. Next slide, please. So good faith efforts specific to this project. Good faith efforts are ongoing. They began early on during our procurement process. Gilbane Turner has good faith efforts. We require our prime bidders to have good faith efforts as well too. And that entails not only do we reach out for prime NACIS to the prime NACIS code as we are building our bidders list, we then break down those bidders lists and provide sub-tier NACIS codes to our primes and expect that they do, as they break down their bid packages, as we broke down the entire project, that they reach out to the individual NACIS code to fulfill sub-tier requirements in their bid package, that they document that correspondence, that they consider all proposals and make documents readily available. We are using DASNY's utilization plan on this project. Percentages are required both on this job. Right now, the minimum goals are 18% MBE, 12% WBE, and 5% SDVOB. Our individual bid packages have varying goals that we expect them to meet and exceed and show good faith efforts regardless of meeting or exceeding. Next slide, please. Insurance, safety, and bonding. The project is a CSIP. Not all packages fall within the CSIP. The insurance limits are based on the risk of the risk of incidents occurring based on what scope is being performed. EMR is a factor. Gilbane Turner is moving towards more of a recordable incident rate, which you can find out how your recordable instances rate is using your OSHA 300s and 300As, and then calculating it and seeing if your recordable incident rate falls into a industry standard above and below. Bonding capacity. This bonding capacity and bid bond is not required for this project. I would say that bonding capacity is one of those qualification considerations when looking at a firm to see if they are qualified to bid a bid package of the estimated value. The company can be bonded for that much. It's a good indicator that it's a good fit. Next slide. Financial analysis, touched upon that. This is one of the qualification items, and just talking bid ready. Having your audited financials is preferred. Compile their internal is fine as well too. Having 3 years backlog just to show trend. What we do with financial statements is we have various formulas that look at your liabilities or your assets and kind of put it in a ratio and compare it to industry standards to make sure that, like it says, it's not a pass-fail. It's just understanding your company's financial strength. So we have a slide for financials, but workforce is another high consideration. Your backlog to make sure that I could go on and on about items that are looked into to see a little bit more information about your company, but financials are not a pass-fail. Workload to make sure that your company is not overexerting itself. Trade staff to make sure that you have the trades individuals available in order to perform the project when you're peaking and various durations of the job. Many factors that go into making sure that this job is a good fit and that your firm is the best value firm in order to perform that specific scope. Next slide. Just various documents required for pre-qualification, the form itself, your W-9, EMR, OSHA logs, and financial statements. Next. So upcoming events, here's a few images of events that we had. Our next event is going to be in Albany on July 21st. It is a Blueprints for Success, more readily known as a Meet the Primes. We go over similar material that we just kind of went over, but the intent is if anybody, and I'm sure has attended an MWBE SDVOB forum, what we have is we have a brief presentation to talk about expectations and information about the project. And then expectation is that each prime that intends on bidding on the bid packages that are going out to bid or are out to bid has a table and is an opportunity to go and meet those individuals for the MWSWOB firms to meet those individuals that intend on bidding as a prime, exchange business cards, tell them a little bit about your firm, and have a back and forth conversation on how your firm could participate as a sub-tier with their firm. Or if you have a table yourself as a prime bidder, to have similar exchanges from the other side of the table. Next slide. So our commitment, Gilbane Turner has a identical commitment when it comes to economic inclusion and maximizing community and project level benefits. We take our goals for as a minimum requirement. We take the good faith efforts as a minimum requirement. We want to exceed where we can. We want to get the community involved to the highest level that we can to make sure that the project is successful, not only for our client and for our stakeholders, but it fulfills a true purpose in the community that we're building it in and has a lasting impact. So we were about 10 minutes early. Maybe I went too fast, Danielle, but we can go for questions and answers.
All right, thank you, Dan and Steve. Great overview and really a lot of detail in that. If you do have questions, you can use the Q&A function, and we'll start off things with some questions that were submitted prior to this event here, and probably the first one, and I think you kind of addressed that, but maybe you may have a couple additional things. What's one mistake or key mistakes that you see small businesses commonly make when approaching primes or procurement teams?
So I would say, and again, referring to the presentation that Dan made, it's underestimating the resources and the timelines of the processes that it takes to engage on a project of this scale. And even if you are engaging with general contractors on smaller scale projects, the process of being pre-qualified and going through the procurement process uh, can take more resources than you may be used to on smaller scale projects. So just be prepared for that and be patient. Uh, Things aren't intentionally uh, slowed down or made more complicated. It just is, particularly in the public procurement like the lab project is, there are a lot of steps that have to be fulfilled before we can engage in the bidding process and making awards.
Thanks, Stephen. Let's touch upon PLA, which you did mention in your presentations. Are there opportunities, or will there be any opportunities to waive PLA agreements for certain trades, sort of those that possess certifications and the like?
Yeah, there is no need to waive any provision of the PLA. The PLA has specific provisions for the inclusion of underutilized businesses that are not signatory. It is very important for the underutilized businesses to engage with other prime subcontractors that are bidding. Let us know up front, and we can follow the process for inclusion of a non-signatory contractor up to the limits that we discussed earlier, 5 million for if you're prime bidding, or 3 million if you're a second tier or lower. So the Trade Council agreed to these provisions. The Trade Council has cooperated and collaborated with us to ensure that we have participation. So it's like I say, it's not a waiver. It's part of our process, and we are happy to support anyone who is interested and engaging. One thing I will say, Dan went through our uh, bid sheets and what's been awarded and what's currently out to bid. Even on awarded contracts, we encourage the awarded prime subcontractors to continuously improve on their participation numbers for MW and SDVOB. So reaching out to those folks and letting them know that you have services that can be provided, they can perhaps improve the numbers they have with us, or if the bid has already been received, as we're moving toward award, we rate the level of participation on a subcontractor along with their qualifications and their bid value when we make our best value award. So just because something's been bid doesn't mean the door is closed.
I'm going to take a question from the Q&A section here and sort of combine a couple of them. So once the building goes vertical, you get the roof on and a lot of the construction is over. What are the opportunities and how will businesses get access to those opportunities, regarding, IT, any software, things of that nature, office supplies, which I know it's outside of your area, but once the
Mhm.
construction is complete, would that be DASNY? Would that be DOH, Department of Health?
So there are in completing the building, there are things that are furnished and installed by the contractor, and there are things that are furnished and installed by the owner or developer. Anything that is furnished and installed by the joint venture, it goes through the procurement process that Dan had laid out for us. Anything that the Department of Health or DASNY would be providing as owner supplied, owner installed, would go through the typical New York State contracting process. And anyone who has participated knows that, periodically the state, I believe through the Office of General Services or DASNY directly, will put bid packages out for specific things, and they have their process for making awards.
Thank you for that. Let's go here. Where in your current project life cycle do you still experience blind spots in material or equipment movement between staging area, active zones, and so on and so forth?
In today's modern construction management, we have a lot of tools we can use. We have our BIM modeling softwares that we can kind of model the building and see, for instance, this building has very large autoclaves for the sterilization of uh, tools and materials that they use. And we're able to pat, uh, define a path through, see the leave outs we need, see where all the connection points have to go. And we have logistics software on management of delivery of materials, where on the site we want them. We have a three-dimensional logistics plan that shows us where everything goes. And so those are very helpful, but we encounter blind spots throughout the course of the project. And, one of our one of our successes is being able to encounter these and overcome without disruption. Uh, as to when in the project, like I say, they occur quite often. When we were first out here excavating and bringing fill in, you encounter things underground that were never identified, and so that becomes a roadblock. Uh, you find soft soils where you thought that maybe you could park, and now that's a roadblock. As the building's going up, this winter was terrible winter. We had a lot of frozen ground and things like that. Those are kind of roadblocks that we had a good plan, but when it was 10 below zero for several days, it was something that we had to accommodate and kind of change what we were doing. So we encounter them all the time, and as construction professionals, we overcome them with as minimum schedule impact as we can.
Another question from the chat that you somewhat may have answered before, but maybe dig in a little bit deeper. Are there any opportunities for professional services in project management information systems, project management scheduling and controls? Now that you're at the phases that you are in the project, are there still any opportunities or upcoming opportunities in those areas?
Currently, we have procured our scheduling consultants. We have our site logistics consultant. We do have a third-party engineer that reviews any temporary works that we have. So we're fairly late in the process. I don't foresee anything right now, but that's not to say that if you do have a service, please use the vendor interest form, get into our webpage because things come up back to the blind spots that maybe we need certain expertise that we don't currently have. Our schedule, as we showed at the beginning of the presentation, takes us through the end of 2029. So we still have 3 solid years of work out here, and we can't anticipate everything we're going to need. So please get on the vendor interest form. Let us know, be as specific as you can on the service you provide. And then if something pops up, we'll have a resource. We can know where we can go to look for help.
Great. Um, is there a specific place on your website where subs can find out who were awarded the primes that have been awarded the contracts, so that they may reach out and contact them?
I'm going to direct that one to Dan. Dan, would you mind answering that for us?
Yes. So not on the website, and I'll explain why, but not on the website just because we want to make sure that you're put in with the appropriate person that was awarded, and instead of just putting a firm's name out there, which doesn't give you the actual contact. It could be an international company. So we do not identify the specific company, but I highly recommend going to that construction questionnaire and asking either who are all the primes if you provide a service that touches many different facets, or indicate who is the prime that was awarded specific bid package, and we'll get back to you with the company and the best contact information of whom to reach out to.
And generally, Dan, how soon can individuals expect an answer to a question like that when posed?
So I would say, just pending the complexity of the question and making sure the person's not on PTO, I'd say 72 hours to 3 to 4 days, I would say.
Okay. How are we doing on time, Daniela?
We're good. We can honestly go to the end if we'd like.
Okay. There was a question to sort of verify your upcoming event on July 21st. That's an in-person event here in Albany, is that correct?
Yes, it is. Down at I'm sorry, I always get this wrong. The City Center or Capitol Center, Dan?
Capitol Center, Albany Capitol
Capitol,
Center.
yeah, Albany Capitol Center.
Um, Daniela, I don't think there are any other questions that I may have missed. Um, I think you did mention this, but we do have a question on when again phase 6 packages will be released. I thought you said at some point in time later this month, if I'm not mistaken, or next month.
They will be released, well, we're toward the end of this month. I think some are out already and others will be in the early stages of July.
Okay. Any questions that I may have missed in the chat, in the Q&A, Daniela?
I'm looking through. I do see Bill Kirk's hand is raised. Bill, this is a webinar, so you won't be able to speak, but you can put your question in the Q&A function. I'm reviewing the questions. Let's see. I think you answered most of them.
I'm not seeing anything here.
Okay, Bill's question, I believe this is his question. He asked, do you plan to hold any meetings in New York City? And Bill, I believe this is for Gilbane Turner.
All of our outreach has been in Albany uh, because it's an Albany-centric project.
Correct. If you are asking about ESD, We have offices all over. We don't, as a bid ready as a bid ready project, we don't have any in-person events currently in New York City. We do have some additional events that ESD is putting up. This is a good transition. I can start sharing my screen, go through some announcements, and
Daniela,
tell you a
there's
little bit more.
one last
Yeah,
question, if I can get this one out,
please,
that may
absolutely.
be of interest to those
Yeah.
that are outside of New York State. There was a question on how can a business that is outside state participate and what types of certifications are required. So basically the question, let's say you're not in New York State, or you're not an MWBE or an SDVOB. What are the opportunities? Are there opportunities that are still there?
Yes, by all means, we have out-of-state contractors signed up currently. Our concrete, our steel, our facade are all out-of-state contractors. In order to participate as an MWSDVOB, you must be certified by ESD in New York State, not just New York City. You have to have a New York State certification. There is a question I've seen a couple of times on the building management system. BMS was bid some time ago and has been awarded.
I think that's it, Daniela. Over to you.
Okay, great. I'm going to start sharing my screen, and we're just going to run through a couple of announcements and then close. So, EST has a couple announcements on a few events that we have. So, Bid Ready, you are currently in a live session. We will be having more of these, so please keep an eye on our webpage for upcoming events. We also have, this is through the Division of Minority and Women's Business Development. They host various pop-up series across the state of New York. So we had one in Suffolk County last week. They were up in Albany. They'll be going throughout the state. But on Monday, the 29th, they will be in the Bronx. So please check out their website and register. It is required that you register if you'd like to attend. Also, MWBE Expo will be at the Javits Center on July 23rd. Keep an eye on ESC's website for more information about that as well. Also, a little bit about our resources. So, ESD has many resources to help you and your business become prepared to work on larger contracts. ESD is here to support you. Take advantage of these opportunities. One of them is the State Small Business Credit Initiative is expanding New York State Capital Access Program with $6.4 million to provide matching funds to financial institutions for loan loss reserves as an incentive to increase small business lending. BidReady also has an introductory video on capital access called Path to Success available on YouTube via our webpage. Entrepreneurship Assistance Centers is an enterprise development program with centers located in communities throughout New York State that provide instruction, training, technical assistance, and support services to individuals who are interested in starting or recently started their own business, or entrepreneurs seeking to expand or strengthen their early stage business. New York Small Business Development Centers provide no-cost, confidential, one-on-one business advisement, training, and research to small business owners and entrepreneurs throughout New York State. The New York State Manufacturing Extension Partnership is a network of organizations that provide growth and innovation services to small and mid-sized manufacturers in every corner of the state to help them create and retain jobs, increase profits, and save time and money. The Governor's Office of Semiconductor Expansion, Management, and Integration, or GOSEMI, is part of the Bid Ready initiative. There's a lot of development in Central New York, and there are many projects underway and upcoming. So stay tuned to the Bid Ready series for more information and events down the line. Okay, so stay in the loop. We have many pre-recorded webinars, so we have had people come on to this before. We're recording this session. This session will be on our webpage and also on our YouTube channel, so keep an eye out. If you have any questions, feel free to email us at bidready@esd.newyork.gov. You can also visit our webpage, and all information about events and resources are there as well. Okay, thank you for joining us today, and a special thank you to Gilbane Turner Please keep an eye on our website for additional events and